Well, we have been traveling far. We've been traveling a long way since a year ago last June, when one Donald J. Trump announced that he was considering, or he was going to step in the race for the President of the United States. I feel, after listening to him for all this time, a year and several months, that his objective for doing that was he felt that this country had deteriorated to a certain level that something must be done. And he knew from his experience of what he's accomplished over his life that he was probably one of the few people that was capable to be able to fix this country and institute policies and strategies that would help restore this country to the greatness that it once was. He felt that he was in a good position to do this because he had developed a very good company. He was worth a lot of money. He developed a great organization. A lot of people worked for him. He was responsible for creating a lot of jobs. He had relationships that he had developed over the years, decades, around the world. One of his largest tenants in Trump Tower was the biggest bank, I guess, in China and elsewhere. So he had some very strong relations with some countries that were very important to the United States. And he felt that with his capability, that no one else out there on two fronts was able to offer to the American people what he could do. One was he was probably one of the very few, if any others, that was willing to take on a job as tough as President of the United States. When a person of this type of his position is willing to do that, he's making a huge, huge sacrifice. The man's 70 years old now, and after his first term he'd be 74. If he wanted another, he'd be 78 when he would be no longer qualified to run for re-election. So he would be giving up probably 10% of his life to be President of the United States. That's a very, very big commitment. Not too many people in his position would be willing to do that. As a matter of fact, no one in his position has ever come forth to do anything like this before. And I'm not too sure anybody, after what he's been through, would come forth again after him. Because the trouble and all the despicableness that has surrounded Mr. Trump with all the disingenuous mainstream media, the attack dogs that are out there that are entrenched in the current establishments of both parties, just can't stand the thought that an outsider like Donald Trump, as successful as he is, with the qualifications that he has, he's going to make everybody in a position of power that's been there for any time at all, he's going to make them look absolutely stupid. Of course they are stupid, because what's the results have been over the last decades of these people running the show, if you will, that both the Republican and the Democrat parties, is absolute devastation. This country is tremendously in debt, $20 trillion. If we couldn't print our own money, we would be in serious, serious bankruptcy. We couldn't go on. If you're a family and you've got any kind of debt that approaches what this debt means, our budget is, I think, about $4 trillion a year, I believe. I may be wrong, but I think that's what it is. And if you take that and divide it into 20, we have 5 years of debt. And that's just from the income that we have, $4 trillion. So it'll take you 5 years if you spend every nickel that you make just to pay off the debt. You're broke. You are bankrupt in those kind of conditions. You will never ever get out of the load of that debt. And the real obscenity to all this is the interest rate right now is as low as I've ever remembered it in my lifetime, and it's pathetic. There is no interest. So if we were paying interest on the money that we owe to countries like China, Japan, what have you, we couldn't keep our head above water for days, let alone a week or a month. This country has been run by out-and-out complete idiots For decades, we've had no leadership. And for the last 8 years, we have been decimated by an ideologue in the White House that had no experience. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He never has had any experience whatsoever. He was a one-term senator from Chicago, and that's about all he knows. And that's not much. He's not even qualified to be a dog catcher. But that's what we've got.
I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Natasha. I was going around to these businesses asking if they had any side work I could possibly do. I'm trying to make...
No, we're on the air right now. It's a radio show, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's what we were talking about in here, begging for money. You know, that's the type of society we have when you got a rebel rouser, dog catching community organizer in the White House who hasn't done any leadership whatsoever for this country that's been productive. For 8 years, you end up with a begging society, people out of work, food stamps going up like crazy, unemployment rate higher than it's ever been. Of course, the published unemployment rate's a joke. Nobody believes that. If you have anything at all between your ears like gray matter, anything at all left, everybody knows that's an out-and-out lie. Everything the administration's been coming forth with since, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, and all the other lies, your health care costs are going to go down $2,500 a year, and they've gone up about $6,000. I mean, it's just absolutely obscene what's been going on. And the real sad part is, apparently there's so many people in this country who've been dumbed down, we'll say, that anybody at all is entertaining the thought of electing a Hillary Clinton into the presidency has just, it's sad. It shows the depth that this country has deteriorated. We are going the way of the Roman Empire and a lot of other countries that have come before us that have fallen on their own sword because of, well, corruption and stupidity really by leaders that don't have a clue what they're doing. You can't just keep spending and spending and spending without producing anything. And that's what happened to the Roman Empire. That's what happened to the Pilgrims when they first came over here and thought they were going to make this nice utopian society where everybody would just get along and everybody would grow everything for everybody. They all share and share alike. And what a great world it would be. Oh my goodness, it would just be so great. And what happened was half the people did work and half didn't. And that's the nature of people. And when you're dealing with people, you're going to get some that are takers and you're going to get some that are producers. A successful country has more producers than takers. And more importantly, has leadership that understands the difference between the two. We don't have leadership that understands the difference. We have a leader that is an ideologue that wants to make everybody in the country dependent upon who they are and what they can do for them by being Santa Claus, that people don't have any tendency to want to work. They just sit on their ass, watch Oprah, and get free food and their food stamps and free Obama phones and free this and free that. And it's the politicians that are buying the people. They're making you dependent upon them. They're not teaching you how to fish. They're giving you fish. And that buys your votes. And when you have a country like that, you're on the way to collapse. And that's the way we've been going. And we've been going that way for decades. And that needs to stop. Donald Trump has a way out of this mess. He has some plans and policies that he put into place that actually gets jobs back, puts the people back to work, cleans up the country, stops this foolishness that's going on with the residual of what we've had for non-leaders for a long time. This Hillary Clinton will not stand. She cannot be elected president, or this country is just toast. I mean, I guarantee it, folks. I knew that Obama, when I heard about him, I said, that guy's just an empty suit. He doesn't have any chance in hell of ever being elected. But I guess in my naivety, I failed to realize of the programs that were instituted decades ago by the liberals and the progressives was to dumb down the people coming up through our school system were educated by liberals and progressives, not educated is the point. They were taking the history books out of class, they teach their ideology, and they would teach these young children just the wrong things about everything. So these people came out into the world without a chance in hell of ever becoming anything other than Democratic voters, because they were going to get taken care of by the Santa Claus in chief and the Democratic Party. They were just going to be little offspring, little puppets of them, and they would sit at home and get their welfare checks and their food stamps, and everything was going to be utopian, like back in the Pilgrim days. That didn't work out too well. It won't work out now. It's going to collapse the country. So we need a businessman, somebody with experience of running things, somebody that knows how to make jobs, create something from nothing. This man builds big, huge skyscrapers all over the world. He does great things, and these aren't easy things to do. It takes a certain talent to be able to pull off what he does. He needs to be a leader. Some people need to follow him. He needs to be able to delegate. He needs to be able to put his policies in effect and carry them out. Everything is exactly opposite of what these liberal progressives, even the way they think, they don't think like that. Complete backwards thinking. And we have to just cut that out. That's a cancer on our society. So let's eliminate these liberal progressives. Let's just, like cockroaches, get rid of them. They're absolute destruction to this world. Look at what Hillary Clinton has touched. Every place she's gone, when she was Secretary of State, and the reset button with Russia and the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and Libya and Gaddafi and all these policies have ended up in absolute despicable failure. She landed in, where was it, Bulgaria or someplace, under heavy fire when she got off the plane. And of course we have video of her getting off the plane, and she was getting handed roses and stuff with a nice little greeting, and the old red carpet rolled out there, and I don't know where the hell the gunfire was, but we didn't see it on the film portraying the incident as it actually happened. So Hillary Clinton is a pathological, extreme liar. She's lied about every single thing, and she's done it right to the faces of American soldiers' parents, trying to lie about the way that their children died with a completely fabricated story made up to protect Barack Obama and his re-election bid. The real story couldn't come out a couple months before election time because Barack Obama was lying to the American people, going around telling everybody what a great president he had been and how he protected the country and how he has all this Al-Qaeda and everybody on the run, and they're like hiding in the caves and whatnot, and he's got them all just decimated, and the Al-Qaeda days are over. And then we have a big attack on one of our embassies, and the opposite's true. What a surprise. The opposite is true of what Obama says. Gee, what a surprise, huh? But anyways, because half the electorate's dumb, they can't see the truth, they re-elect this guy, which is just mind-blowing to me. That a guy like this could be elected once, let alone twice, is just absolutely crazy. And here we are again now, people are considering actually electing a Hillary Clinton. And this just absolutely blows my mind. I mean, good God, this lady, now we have another 15,000 emails that have been found. She said that she turned over all the emails that she had, not once, not twice, not three, not four. I think we're on about the 5th go-around where we keep finding more emails after she keeps saying there aren't any more. She is an absolute liar. And the reason that she has all these emails, the reason she had her own server, was because she was a spy for herself. She had a game plan, and I think the Clintons' agenda was to take down Obama sooner or later, and they didn't want Obama or anyone else in the government know what they were doing on the sly. And then the other despicable issue is this Clinton Crime Foundation was set up to fund the lifestyle of the Clintons and to be a slush fund for their activities and their overhead and their travel expense, first class of course, and private jets, and a salary for their daughter, I think to the tune of about $1 million a year. I mean, this is a despicable family. They're like, Donald Trump was giving a speech the other night, and I think he called them grifters. He said they were just like grifters, that everything they do is like you're dealing with some sort of trash. When they left the White House, after 8 years in residence there, they were taking spoons and dishes and everything else, I guess, that wasn't nailed down, and they got caught doing that, and they had to give some of it back, is my understanding. But they left the White House not only stone cold broke, like Hillary herself described it, if you can believe what she says, but they were heavily in debt. Well, let's look at why they were heavily in debt. For one, Bill Clinton, for the last 4 or 5 years of his presidency, was fighting scandal after scandal after scandal. A lot of them were attaching directly to him. I think he had a gal named Paula Jones that had sued him for rape, and I think there was a settlement made out of court to the tune of about $800,000, I hear, that came from Clinton. So the reason they were stone cold broke, is Wifey Pooh says, is because her husband was a despicable molester of women. The Monica Lewinsky deal, the little, now we have these plane flights that have been exposed, the Lolita Express they call it, with this friend of Clinton's, a known pedophile, flying them to a private island where they bring in these young chickadees, and people like Bill Clinton and this pedophile have their way with these chicks, I guess. And this is our future first husband, potentially here in the U.S. I mean, we have really slipped, folks. We'll be below a third world country, I think. There's a lot more countries that are going to be doing better than we are here shortly if we don't shape up. The Philippines, for example, just elected a guy, I think his name is Duarte or something like that, and he's being called the Filipino Trump. This guy was a mayor of Manila, I believe, and he's known for not being corrupt. If you can believe that, an elected official that's not corrupt, how refreshing. But anyways, he was beating up drug traffickers, and he's very strong with the way that he handled the law and so forth. And he's so clean and doing a good job, they elect him to be president of the country. So we're watching and see what happens there, but all the people are behind him. They're all enthused that they now have a leader that maybe they can depend upon instead of one like that Marcos and all the stuff that they've had in the past. So anyways, there is hope for countries that once sooner or later they'll wake up and the people will end up with a leader that they can truly get in and get behind and follow. And I think we have a man like that in Trump. I know one thing for sure that we don't have any other possibility to elect anyone other than Trump, because everybody, well, the only other person running at the moment anyways, I'll say at the moment, is Hillary Clinton, because this lady has got so much baggage, and she's so famous for her baggage, and you know there's so much there. And if this was an honest Department of Justice and an honest FBI, she would never have dared run. But these despicable people think that they control the law. They think they're above the law and that they can get away with anything. And thus far, I will have to say they have. Bill Clinton got on that TV camera back in the 90s, looked right at the camera, and lied through his teeth. So much so that either he had a copper plea, I think, on perjury, or be found guilty of it one way or the other. I think he had to give up his law license. I don't think he's ever gotten it back. And this is the type of person we had in the White House before, and now we're thinking of putting someone back there again that was there on the first go-around. Hillary Clinton was in charge of the Bimbo Eruption Squad, and the reason that she had that title was because of all the bimbos that were erupting around her husband. Anita Broderick and that Paula Jones and Catherine Willey, and the list goes on and on. And you know, if you have one or two instances in your life, that's a lot. And you add up what goes on around the Clintons and you go, how can this just be a coincidence? Because it's way more than I've ever been familiar with. Take the dead bodies, for example, that follow the Clintons around, all the way from Arkansas, all the way to Washington, D.C. And now my understanding is there's 3 more dead bodies that have surfaced because of the, call it a scandal, I guess, what went on with the DNC and Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz, and the fixing of the nomination process on the Democratic side, where they had to support Hillary Clinton, so they had to prop up somebody there that they could dig up that would be worse than Hillary Clinton. Well, how do you do that? She's absolutely the worst candidate that's ever run ever for president that I know of, and they had to make her look good somehow because some deal, I guess, had been made years ago where it was Hillary's turn and nobody could get out of it for whatever reason. I think all these dead bodies follow the Clintons around because these are the ones they just weren't able to get rid of quick enough. But I think they know where there's so many more dead bodies that other people that are in power have put to their early graves. And I think they just have the goods on enough people that they can get whatever kind of protection they need. And they literally do walk above water. But those days are numbered, believe me. This country, the speed of what information travels these days, granted with the mainstream media news organizations, a lot of the data that's racing around the world is all inaccurate and distorted, and it's not true. And I think the American people and other people around the world are seeing that this is what the truth will win out, because it can only go the wrong way for so long, and finally what the results are going to be visible to everybody. And when you see what the truth is, the proof's in the pudding. And boy, we've not had any pudding for a long time, especially under Obama. This has been the worst string of years put together by an administration ever. We haven't had one quarter where we've exceeded a couple percentage points in growth. And that's unheard of. That's unheard of. What a disaster this country's become. And it's become that way because of the policies that Obama has put forth that are absolutely 180 degrees in the wrong direction. Every single thing he does wrong. Now, my theory on that is he must know what he's doing, and somebody that's pulling his strings wants him to do the wrong thing every time. So this is all devised. Somebody's pulling his strings. And he's always been a puppet. He was a puppet when he was in the Senate. He wasn't there very long. He's like Hillary. He probably never passed anything. Hillary's claim to fame as a senator is she renamed the post office, renamed the street, and these are the kinds of things now that qualify you to be president. Boy, only for those with a D next to their name, I'll tell you what. There's no R that would make it under those conditions. But this is what we're faced with. Anyways, anyone listen can call in and tell us what they think about all this and what they offer up for solutions. One of our #1 solutions around here is to eliminate the parties. The political parties are corrupt. They need to be made illegal. We do that one of two ways. We, as the people of this country, we petition the Supreme Court to make the parties illegal. And the other thing is a ballot referendum that starts from the ground up all over the country, and local elections all the way up the ladder to the big elections, where we actually have a referendum to make the political parties illegal. And we have the power to do this. This country was founded for us. And even our forefathers warned us about the corruption and the cancer that a political party organization represents. What they do is they steal the people that we, the people, vote into office to be our representatives. They special interests steal these people through their congressmen and senators with money. They buy the freshman elected, newly appointed elected office holders. They go to Washington, let's say, their very first day there, they get taken out to lunch, and they get indoctrinated in the way that they're going to do things from here on out. And that's the only way they're going to be reelected, is to play ball, or you're gone, you're out. And this is the type of country we become. We'd be a lot better off if we were just run by something like the mafia. At least we wouldn't think that we're going to be protected by laws and stuff that are on the books in this country, because that's a fiction. That's an absolute fallacy. With laws come the necessity that you have to enforce the laws. Well, who's enforcing our laws in this country? Not the FBI, not like Comey. He let Hillary off the hook, and then he had to go give a speech to Congress and basically says she was guilty of just about everything that they were investigating. How that doesn't rise to the level of recommending an indictment has a lot to do with who would be the one in charge of making the indictment, and that would be the Department of Justice there. And that appointee of Obama was never going to indict anybody because she listens to the puppet, the head puppet in chief. So Comey, I think, was just kind of cutting him off at the pass, because they were going to try to make him the fall guy and take the blame for all this. So he just said, you know what, you want to investigate her, you investigate her, and leave me out of it, because I don't need to take this political type of claptrap. The FBI's position should not be something that's controlled at all by politics. We have a lot of things to think about in this country of how to straighten things out. So please call in and let us know how to straighten it out. 702-493-5222, and let us know what you think about possible solutions. And like I said, one of our main solutions is eliminate these parties, because they're corrupt organizations. We don't want to be like Canada or other places that have multiple parties. That's not the answer. The answer is you get rid of the cancer, you cut it out. We don't need these parties. What do they do for you? Think, if you're an American voter, what in the world do these political parties do except steal maybe some of your fellow citizens' votes by those that are in unions and forcibly get dues taken out of their paycheck, and then the unions turn around and back and support all these political people, that the people that they got the money from, these check people, they don't want to donate to these people, but they're going to have to, because that's the system. And the system's broken, and we've got to get it fixed, and we've got to get it fixed now. And Donald Trump can do that. Donald Trump can fix this mess. And if he can't, I don't know of anyone else that will, or can even, for that matter. So it's time to elect a real leader. This country's been in a world of hurt. We're facing this ISIS group now that is just beyond the pale. Cut off heads, they do whatever, they drown people in cages. I mean, if you can just think of that, some element like that going on over here, I mean, it's just unfathomable to me that we put up with that going on anywhere in the world. The reason that we have to be a little bit like a policeman to the world is previously we were the most powerful country in the world. It's debatable if we're even in the top 10 anymore, to tell you the truth. After 8 years of Obama, we'll be lucky to come out of this mess in a position that we can even restore what we once had. This guy has devastated this country with his moronic proposals and ideas, and it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I can guess. And I wish I didn't have to, because it's not good, folks. It's not good. But we have to do something. And we have to make damn sure that Hillary Clinton doesn't get back in there. That's for sure. Boy, I can't imagine that. Oh, I go back even just 8 years almost, and I can't imagine Barack Obama getting to be made president. Just mind-blowing. Here we have, for the first time in our history, we have a giant building that gets blown up by airplanes. And where are they flown? They're flown from people from Israel that left from wherever they left from. You know, well, how'd they do that? Well, prior to 2001, we weren't paying attention. And someone could get a hold of two planes, misdirect them, fly them right into buildings or whatever, and that's what happened. And terrible, terrible, terrible situation. And it happened, and what do we do about it? We devastate our military, we cut this, cut that, we put them in charge of places and things they shouldn't even be at, and this is what we end up with. We end up with a country that's broken. So anyways, folks, 702-493-5222, give us a call. Let us know what your solutions are, because we need these solutions so we can get them out there. We can get them documented within our little tallying system we developed just for this purpose. When people call us up with an idea, we keep track of it. And then if someone else calls up with the same idea, we just put their slash mark over there together with the first one. And that way we keep track of how many people agree with and have had the same idea. And then when we elect people to office, we can forward this type of information to them, that this is what the people want. We the people. We're going to take this country back over and get in charge again. And then that way we can be sure we never get faced with the likes of Barack Obama or a Hillary Clinton, for goddamn sure, or someone like Jimmy Carter. He wasn't a bad man. He just was naive, and he wasn't that capable. And people in power around him took advantage of him. And this is what happens in life. You put in a weak leader, you're going to get weak results, and you're going to end up with problems. I don't think Japan has gotten out of their recession yet. Hell, that might have been 20 years ago. I remember back in the 80s, just 30 years ago, Japanese were running around over there in Hawaii in caravans of limousines. And the head limousine would radio to the back limousine when they saw a for sale sign on a house to buy that house. And then the back limousine would stop and buy the house, and the caravan would keep going, and the next house, and the next house, and they'd drive around and just buy up property. They'd buy up golf courses and hotels and everything else that they could grab. They thought this little island over there in Japan had gotten so wealthy that they just had money to burn. Kind of reminds me of the Roman Empire, going through all their money, having all those orgies at the Colosseum. And what happens is you end up in not a very good position. And that's what happened to the Japanese. And it's been taking them 20 years just to try to recover. And that's what's happened to us. Fortunately, though, I believe that with a businessman in there, like a Donald Trump, we can get on the road to recovery pretty damn quick. I think it'll surprise everybody how quickly we can turn this around. And the reason we can is because America still has a lot of wherewithal. We have a lot of natural resources. We have a lot of talent that's not being used right now because of policies. But when Donald Trump eliminates a lot of the regulations. We have like 800,000 pages of regulations. That's obscene. Who even knows the first 10? I mean, how do you know what to do when you can't read in black and white what the real regulation is, and then it's been changed so many times, nobody knows what it is. It's kind of like what the IRS has morphed into. There's so many tax codes and so many this and that you could literally yourself, maybe you have a very, very simple tax situation. You make X amount of dollars a year, you don't have a lot of deductions and this, that, whatever, but you go to a tax man, E.F. Hutton or any of these other people, and ask them to help you with your taxes so you can figure them out. And you can go to 10 different organizations, and I guarantee you they would come back to you with like 10 different answers. Because the tax code, like everything else that emanates from the government, becomes so complex that nobody can understand it. And that's really the normal way that things go when you think about it, because when you have these bureaucrats that are in charge of making up the law, they don't think they're doing anything unless they're actually making up the law. And the other issue with them is that if they don't do this, then they're not going to be able to make it. And this is what ends up happening. And so we have to get this stuff back on track. We have to make the trade agreements that make sense to us. Why would we have these lopsided agreements where we lose all of our money? It goes offshore, and not in a good way. It goes offshore in a bad way, gone forever. And we just need a businessman that'll implement policies, surround himself with good leaders, good department heads, good staff, good Secretary of State, a good defense minister, a good qualified people. Donald Trump has a talent for that. Hillary Clinton doesn't have a talent for anything. She's the biggest creep I've ever seen. And the other day, I think I heard on the radio, I never saw it yet, but when she on Jimmy Kimmel or something, screeching and yelling and all this stuff because Kimmel brought up her 15,000 new emails, and I think her reply in her screeching way was something like, what the best does that mean? It's kind of like, well, if you got 35,000 emails out there, what if 35,000, 15 more, what difference does it make? You know, I mean, what an attitude she has. She runs around now, she's blaming Colin Powell for the fact that he told her, according to her, which of course is a lie, she's blaming everything on, well, Colin Powell told me to have a private server. Well, unfortunately for that statement, no he didn't. I think he may have told Hillary Clinton that he had a private server, but it was a private server that was run by the government. Well, it wasn't a private server. It was just a server that he might have had separate from another server, but it was run and overseen from the government. So his server, whatever, was legal. Hers wasn't. But somehow she's trying to make a point out of that, and it's just not flying. I came in right at the tail end of a Powell meeting the other night, and he was just wrapping it up. But certainly looked to me like this wasn't going to be a good thing for old Hillary babe. She is something. I've never seen anyone with so much baggage. She is just amazing. And to think that she's actually a bona fide, I guess I'll call her, she seems to have the nomination, although that was, that DNC, that whole process with the superdelegates and everything is just tremendously corrupt. And then, speaking of bodies, I understand we have 3 more bodies that were associated with information about DNC activities. One of them was on the way to meet the FBI, I think at like 4 in the morning. They were leaving their residence to meet with the FBI, and the guy was shot in the back execution style. And I say that because it wasn't a robbery or anything. Nothing was stolen. He still had money on him, his jewelry and what have you. So, I mean, this is another body. And then there's been 2 more in addition to that. And you have Debbie Wasserman Schultz with her tail hanging out being whipped back to Florida from the convention before it even starts. She got her ass canned because it was exposed all the despicable stuff that was going on about them trying to backstab Bernie Sanders. Here's this poor guy, they make him run, they prop him up there, they promise him all these things and this and that. If you run, they were propping him up there, they were playing him for a monkey. They were trying to make him look good so she would look bad. And that was their agenda, and that's what they did. And, you know, it was exposed, and that's probably the reason why we're not getting this great stuff food anymore. But that's the way it is, so you really have to pay attention. And that's all we ask. If you don't want to, we will. We'll keep paying attention. We'll get the ball rolling. And hopefully the BeHeard 702-493-5222 will become a force to be reckoned with. And that's what I'm trying to do for the people as creating this forum. This is for you, it's not for me. And people need to use it, they need to call in, they need to donate money for the cause so that we get our name out there. And one of the ways to do that is just donate $1. Can anybody afford $1? And what we'll do with that $1 is we'll deposit it in the bank in a special account. And as those bucks grow and grow and grow, we're not going to do anything with it. And then keep your bucks. And that way, when people ask, well, how many bucks you got? We can go and show them, call up the banker anytime. He'll be instructed to release our balance information. So you can call the bank, find out exactly what's in there. Now I would hope that as time goes on, and if this catches on and goes gangbusters, we'll have a lot of money in there. And it's just going to accumulate and accumulate to where it gets to the attention of somebody. And the attention it gets is going to be good stuff. And this gives us hope that we can actually do something about straightening this country back out. Because boy, oh boy, it certainly does need it. It certainly does need it. We've had 8 years of absolute destruction. And it's been planned destruction. If you remember when this guy Obama got elected, he started going around the world on the famous apology tour, where he'd meet these leaders like Saudi or wherever, and he'd bow down to these other leaders of these countries. And that is just earth-shocking to me. What president does that? You know, but these are just trash people. They're absolute trash. And this is what we get. So anyways, we'll straighten it out. We're going to need your help. We're going to need to be heard. And we're going to have to take the reins of this government under the control of the people. And we can start that off with in the control of Donald Trump, who will be our voice. He's clearly talking to everybody, and he's telling them it's not for him, but he wants to be the voice of the American people. And you put him in that position, like the one that Obama has abused for 8 years, put a guy like Trump in that position that won't abuse it, but will use it to get the word of the people out there, and then to implement what the word of the people is, so that actually the people start running this country again. And I think if you listen to the man, you can hear right from his mouth what he says, and you don't need to listen to anybody else with their interpretation of what the man said. Because if it comes from the mainstream media, it's distorted. And even coming from Fox, it's distorted. I think Fox has been exposed as something that I never knew that they were that far liberalized, but apparently they have been. They have this whole National Review, whatever that is, and they've got some people in that group that are anti-American, I think. Anyone that's backing Gary Johnson, who I'm sure is a nice guy, smokes a lot of dope, I understand, or too much dope, let's put it that way. And we're thinking of putting him in the White House. Of course, he's only polling less than 15%, I think. So, you know, whatever. But a third party, all they're going to do is they can throw a monkey wrench into the gears, and we can end up with a really screwed up president, like President Clinton, who was reelected in his second term. The first term, he and his illustrious wife, you know, went sweeping in there, and boy, can't believe we got another 7 months or so to go with that guy in there, and what the damage that he can do further. It's just amazing. Can't wait to see what he's accomplished down there in Louisiana today, floating around in his little life raft or whatever they're going to give him. I'm sure he'll be floating around in the presidential yacht, surveying whatever he's going to survey. And just to not, as president, you have to do things now and then that, you know, well, don't play those last 3 holes or something like that, you know. I mean, you need a presence known. It can be in Louisiana. It could have been at the White House. It could have been at the White House West or East. Could have been any place. And it's we have to pay attention. And we got to get the right man in the White House. And there's only one right anything running, and that's Trump. When I first heard he was running, I was delighted because I knew one thing for sure: nobody was going to buy that guy. If anyone was going to do the buying, it would be him. And as a matter of fact, he's bought on both sides of the aisle influence before. So he knows how the system works. Believe you me, he's been a big sponsor of it. And the liberals, the progressives, who will say anything about anybody, whether true or not, have always been attacking him. Well, ask yourself why. Why is everybody so against Trump? Well, the answer is obvious. It's because he would oppose them, is what it comes down to. And their little gravy train might be coming to an end. And they can't stand that. And the thought of that just makes their skin crawl. Because what will they do? 99.9% of these people are losers. They couldn't get another job because here, again, they don't know how to make anything. They're consumers, they're not producers. So what good are they in a society where you want to thrive on creating jobs and making a better mousetrap and doing things that make sense? And that's what a community organizer really does. It makes sense. And not an Obama, though. Guess it's too late for that guy. Thank God. Oh, can't wait to get rid of him. But I can't even imagine a Hillary Clinton. Something has got to happen this week, I swear to God. Trump canceled a trip to the West Coast. I don't know if he's even said why yet, but there's something going on because he was heading this way, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, it was canceled. And I haven't heard why. The speculation out there from people that are usually in the know is that something big is going to come down. I don't know what it's going to be. I would hope, from my own standpoint, and for the standpoint of the country, that it has something to do with our friend Hillary. And that would be nice, boy. She needs to blow up. I cannot believe she's still running as it is. And that whole deal over that email thing and the FBI director kind of letting her off the hook stinks to holy hell. And just stinks. And when there's smoke, there's fire, folks. And let's see what's happening out there in the front. Got to figure out why in the hell they're saying now, if you think Clinton's going to be a landslide, you better hold on to your horses, because I think the polls are now showing that Hillary Clinton is beginning to slide. And once this slide goes, it's gonna keep on going. So I don't know, I can only hope that something's gonna hit the fan in the next few days and old Hillary is gonna go floating away on some medical problem. Because when the crap hits the fan on this lady, she's not gonna just go quietly. She's gonna go with a big ass boom. You're on the air, Radio Tribune.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. This is Tony here, and I'm trying to get a hold of the person that handles the budget account there, please.
Well, what? This is a radio show. You're on the air right now.
Radio Tribune, huh?
My goodness. We're getting popular. You got people calling us up left and right trying to sell us stuff now. Well, anyways, if anybody out there knows what's going on, why Trump didn't make the trip to see us out here in Las Vegas, let us know. I'm curious. I'm really curious. You know, when you cancel not 1, 2, 3, 4 things that were supposed to be going on here shortly, and you cancel all of them, what in the world's going on? And what's really, I mean, you can cancel and you can have a reason for it and you can say what it is and everybody goes on and that's fine. But why don't you say what the reason is? Boy, that makes me tend to think, and I may just be talking out of my ass, but that makes me think it's something that he can't talk about. And that would have something to do with the other side of the issues and the other side of this contest. There's something going on there that he just can't talk about, and he doesn't want to be on the West Coast when the old proverbial whatever it is hits the fan. Well, one can only hope, but I don't know if they're talking about anything. I may be crazy. Why Trump canceled trip? Let's see if anything comes up. Well, let's see if anything comes up. Citing scheduling. Wow. See? Republicans in turmoil. Hey, here we go. This is the old spin from the libs. Republican in turmoil as Trump abruptly cancels campaign. So anyway, well, he went to Louisiana, remember? And here's another little headline from the old liberals. Trump cancels trip as he goes to, they're in turmoil as Trump cancels to go to Louisiana. How is that in turmoil? Flooding in Louisiana forced a cancellation. So Republicans in turmoil as Trump abruptly cancels campaign, a scheduled campaign. And then Donald Trump canceled the trip because of the Louisiana flooding. And that means to the Democrats, Republicans in turmoil. This is funny. This is ridiculous. You see, they're citing the trip to Louisiana as the reason for canceling the trip this weekend out here to the Midwest. Jesus Christ, unbelievable. Well, anyways, folks, expect more of this all the way till Election Day. If Hillary hangs in there, if she can make it to the election, and she might not be able to, I never thought she would, and she might not be able to, but we're going to see all these spin doctors out there writing what's going on, coming up with these phony ass things. Republicans in turmoil as Trump cancels trip to go to Louisiana. How is that in turmoil? What in the world is going on? Anyways, folks, thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.